Hi, my name is Joe Conley, and I'm going to make a brief video to talk to you all about FPAS, which stands for Flexibly Periodized Autoregulatory Systems. Peter Nelson and I have recently completed a book. It's still in the editing process, but wanted to kind of get some videos out there to kind of drum up some interest in this system that we've created for training. Basically, what I'd like to do today is kind of talk a little bit about why we chose that name, and in doing so, I think it'll give the consumer an idea of what really this book is all about and what's in it and how it can benefit them in the sports performance profession. So, quickly talking about the term flexibly. Basically, what we're looking at is when you're training, there's a physiological response to the training. So, and an adaptation by the body because of that training. So, and during training, and a lot of different types of training can have a lot of different types of responses. Muscle strength, power, muscular endurance, hypertrophy, power endurance. Among just a few, there's a lot of them, and we'll touch on all of them in the book. But the fact of the matter is, with one system, we can train every different type of response that we're looking for. And what that does is it creates a flexibility in programming, depending on sport, the type of sport, the type of client or athlete, age, all those things, all those factors that come into play when you're talking about periodization. So it creates a flexibility for training, which is to me, something that you have to kind of weed through as a strength and conditioning coach or sports performance coach, categorizing what you want that response to be, and then how to get it, and then you kind of change everything to get to the next thing. Well, with our system, and we'll talk about system in a minute, but with our program, it you can kind of continue everything in a similar fashion, which to me is hugely important. And it doesn't matter what implement you're using or really what exercise you're using, you can kind of get whatever adaptation you need based on our system. So the next term is periodized or periodization. Obviously, it's the change that creates the adaptation and the progression. So the flow throughout the macro, meso, and micro cycles that you're programming. But the fact of the matter is there has to be a progression or a regression depending on what you're doing throughout the year. And in this system that we've created, it'll allow that. In the collegiate setting, for me, it's you have a wide variety, a wide range of training ages and different types of athletes. So, I don't believe you can train an 18-year-old the same way you should be training a 22 or 23-year-old. And this system allows you to do that pretty seamlessly throughout a 3, 4, 5, or sometimes even 6 or 7 year career now, in particular in college athletics. But the fact of the matter is, if you can train collegiate athletes in any sport, then really you can get outside of that range into the general population all the way up to however old or however young you want to kind of train. So that'll all be kind of touched on again, but there's a progression to it. The next term is autoregulatory. So, anybody that's been in college athletics knows that your athletes walk in every day. They're not always prepared for the session. You'd like to think they are, but ultimately they're not. And then also there's a lot of stresses on their body. So people have developed, utilizing, bar velocities as an autoregulatory means of programming, questionnaires, GPS, recovery techniques, all those things. But if you're using percentages or things that are really subjective, when you're using percentages, it could be based on a number that was acquired months ago. So you have to be in the moment with your periodization and with your programming, and our system allows us to do that every day. So every day is a new session. It's not a continuation. It's based off of something that was very, very recently accomplished, which to me is really important, because then you can get the most out of each and every training session, and you don't leave any opportunities to get improvement in the tank or go by the wayside. The other situation is in collegiate athletics, we come off long breaks. And if you think, your athletes are doing one thing over a 6-week layoff, and you come back and, you push them through something that maybe they're not adapted to or ready for, you can get in trouble. So that auto-regulatory portion of FPAS is second to none. I don't know any system that has it, and I've studied, I'd like to think, a lot of different types of programming. So that's a huge component to this as well. It's not something that is easily done in today's day and age, but you get day by day results. And the last thing is system. It's a set of principles or procedures, according to which something is done. I mean, that's the definition of a system. And if you're not using a system to train your athletes, you're not doing your athletes a service that you probably could be. So there's a plan to our system. And, as we kind of go through the intro process to this system and this book, you guys will get an idea of what we mean by that. But there's a set of rules in place that allow for really all this adaptation that we're talking about. I've always been taught that programming is an art and it's a science, and the art part is usually based on experience and being creative with your programming and systematic with how you develop your plan, and the science part is evidence-based science. So you have to have some sort of reason or some sort of scientific adaptation you want to create. So FPAS allows us to do all of that, and that's the pretty unique and really cool part of this book. Peter Nelson and I have developed this book over the last probably year and a half. The system really over the last year and a half, and then decided that we wanted to kind of share that system with you all, and so that people could reap the benefits of FPAS worldwide. It doesn't have to be collegiate. It doesn't have to be private sector. It doesn't have to be NFL. It can be anything. And it's a pretty unique system, and we're really excited to kind of, as this process goes along, share more of that with you. So thanks for listening. We'll have a couple more videos as we roll through this thing, and I'm really excited for kind of what we have in store. Thank you very much.